Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I've got a really interesting gentleman to introduce you tonight. It's Pride Month, and so I thought it would be really interesting to talk to a gentleman who's really gone through it all and has come out now with a hilarious new book about being gay. As queers rally across Canada, his release says, a rare gay voice who has seen it all in the LGBTQ plus movement releases a hilarious new book. His name is David Roddis. David, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
My pleasure. So tell me, what is this book all about and why is it so hilarious?
Oh, that is the million-dollar question. Well, you might be wondering about the title, Sorry Looking for Now, LOL. In the first instance, that is about, I guess, how gay hookups have come to require teleportation.
Teleportation.
Yes, it gets more demanding because normally in the old days you would just look up see an ad in the paper, and you write a response by hand and stick a stamp on it, and wait for the reply. Then you get the door shock at the cafe where you would be, oh no, not you, right? But now everything's speeded up, so it goes something like, hey, want to hook up? And you say, sure, I'll just hop in the shower, get a cab, and be over to Riverdale in about, say, 30 minutes. And they go, oh, sorry, dude, looking for now. Right? So any delay between the meeting online and your appearance at their place is no, you have to be instantly there. So I worked out that the only way I could maybe overcome this is by, well, I would never kill myself. But I mean, if somehow I managed to be reborn as the infant son of some female roommate of his, wait 18 years until I reach, legal age, and then, I don't know, be in the same house, just grow up in the same house. That's the only way I can figure around it. But that would take someone with staying power and focus, and I'm not that person.
You describe yourself as one of the old-time fags, one of the originals. What does that mean?
That means words that straight people can't use. No, it's one of the old-time fags. I had to laugh when you say I've seen it all. I'm sure there's one or two things I haven't seen, but I guess I grew up in that atmosphere of the late 50s, 60s, where it was just, you didn't talk about being gay. In fact, it wasn't a concept. You just heard this kind of whispering in the air. This kind of like, oh, is he one of those kind of thing? And you'd get these coded messages, like I remember my sister saying, I wanted to knit something. I wanted to learn how to knit. Because kids will do anything they want to do, right? They don't have any of these preconceived notions. And she said, boys don't knit. I thought, oh, okay. Well, we'll talk, save that up for therapy in 30 years. Right? So it was kind of like a time where I got these coded messages that just who I was wrong. I was bad, mistake, disgusting, all of these various messages, and yet you couldn't talk about it. So I guess that's maybe what you mean by old time fag.
You're the one that said it, not me. So what did you mean by it?
It doesn't sound like a lot of fun, does it? I guess it was the experience, I think, of creating a life, this kind of secret life. You would typically meet someone older, meeting someone your own age. I mean, if you'd actually worked out that there was someone else to meet, another one, you would invariably be an older person, and you'd find that they had worked out quite a nice lifestyle. Judy Garland records and usually very ornate kind of apartment. And they would, kind of take you under their wing and teach you the ropes before, putting on Judy at Carnegie Hall and tying you up with them. So that's the way you kind of got initiated into it. And I don't mean in the sexual way, but I mean, you kind of like learn how to navigate the kind of dangers of living this kind of secret life. So you could cobble together this kind of secret life, and it could be fairly satisfactory, but it was all on a knife edge. It could all disappear in a moment, right? The fear was being found out. which could mean losing your job or any number of terrible things. So it was kind of like this mysterious parasocial thing, right? A life alongside, but not alongside other people's lives, but not visible to them. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I mean, it
Yep.
doesn't make sense, but
No, but it does make sense. When and how did you come out?
I always knew I was gay. This is, I mean, I insist on this, and I don't know how, but I don't know how I came up with the age of 8. Because there was no terrible incident or anything. There was no one, you know, tempting me from the driver's seat of their Chevy Corvette. That came later when I was in my 20s. But I just always kind of knew I was gay. I don't know. I maybe didn't have that word for it, but I was always aware of it. So I was kind of a gay kid, gay little kid. I was kind of faggy, kind of like effeminate. And I guess I gradually butchified as I got older. But I just gravitated. I liked hanging out with the girls instead of the boys. I didn't like rough and tumble kind of stuff, and I liked reading. Um, uh, I don't know. I just kind of gravitated to those things that were not on the boy list, right? I wasn't good at sports. I would tend to score goals in the other teams. Yeah, I still haven't figured that out. And basically, I just felt more at ease with, I guess, what the gender prescription was for like girl stuff, right? Quiet time, reading, music. I had piano lessons, and I was training to be like a concert pianist. I ended up teaching instead, but so yeah, all these things conspired to make me like a little bit of an outcast with the other boys at school. So
And were you outcast?
a little bit, I mean, I always say that if you're going to be a gay kid, if you learn to run for your life by grade 3, you'll be fine. I was, yeah, and somehow I don't know. Kids have a kind of gaydar. You know how mean kids can be. But they kind of picked up on something different, So yeah, I experienced bullying and that kind of stuff at school. Yeah, yeah.
I'm surprised you used the word gaydar. Do you think gaydar exists?
Um, I think it does a little bit. In terms of, I don't know, just like I think it's just like an ultra sensitivity to that little movement or that little turn of phrase or that sibilant S or that ornate piece of jewelry that you're wearing. It's something that gives you away. I think it exists. What do you not think it exists?
No, I do. But I haven't actually talked with anyone about it. So it's interesting that you talked about it so quickly.
Yeah.
This is Pride Month,
Yes.
and you sort of have seen it all. I understand that you have survived the AIDS crisis. You were
Mm,
around during bathhouse raids. You were around when same-sex sexual activity was decriminalized. Equality came for gay and queer people. You've seen sexual orientation added to the Human Rights Act, et
mm,
cetera, et cetera. You've sort of seen during your lifetime some pretty
yeah.
dramatic changes.
Yes. And I wish I felt more confident about them and more. Uh, I think in North America we have a kind of complacency a little bit. We felt that things were progressing slowly and steadily towards more freedom. But I'm not sure, given the state of the world right now, that's true.
Really,
Um,
seriously. So in Canada or the whole world or both?
well, Canada's kind of okay at the moment, though. If I think back to the convoy days, that impressed on me the idea that I feel that Canada exists because someone lets us exist. And I thought, wow, so many forces have come together to produce this event. I feel that if things really go bad in the U.S., and we get into like almost like autocracy, I feel that those tanks could rumble in and squelch Canada in 5 seconds. But anyway, I think there's a lot to fear now in what's happening in the U.S. with the pushback against gender, the whole gender uh, how would you describe it? Everything's being put under this big heading of gender ideology, as they call it. But that's just a catch-all phrase for, get gay people, get transgender people, get anything that doesn't align up with this Christian white nationalist kind of theme, and just gather together into this ball so that we can just get rid of it and make us invisible. I feel that could easily come here.
Can I challenge you on that for a second, if I could?
Sure.
I really wonder, it was 2 years ago or so, I think, that we had this big issue about drag performances in the southern United States and in some right-wing groups. And it was almost, I felt at the time, as if some people felt they had lost the fight on gay rights and on gay marriage, and so therefore they were picking something that was a more extreme thing that they felt that they could get people upset about, and they went on
Right.
drag performances, and they didn't win on that one. So now they're sort of focused on people that are changing their sex and competing in athletic sports. And I've heard politicians go crazy about, no, I'm going to go and not let any men use women's washrooms and not let any men compete in women's sports. And it's almost as if, you've lost all these other fights, and the rights have been gained. And so just to try to keep the fight alive, they've got to find some little argument to try to be a dog whistle to bring the people back.
Well, I mean, it's all a distraction to cover up the fact they have no ideas. They have the right has no there's no plan. There's no what are they going to do about homelessness, or what are they going to do about redistributing wealth, and what are they going to do about poverty? They have no ideas in place to solve any social problems. I guess they don't believe that that's their job, but it's just a big distraction. It's all under this heading of, say, get the children, right? And I remember you say I've been through it all. Well, Anita Bryant was one of the things I've been through. Her slogan was "Save the Children." If you like who I mean by Anita Bryant, right?
Yep.
Anita Bryant,
Florida.
Yeah. So
oranges.
If listeners, if listeners don't know, she was the spokesperson for the Florida Orange Board, or whatever it's called.
She was Miss America or something like that, was she not?
She was for a minute or two. It was Come to the Florida Sunshine Tree, but she was also involved in it was called Save the Children. And she was, I think it was a bill, was it Proposition 18? It was something about getting gay teachers out of schools. And that it's the old, I call it the Centralia mine fire of homophobia, just burning beneath the surface all the time. And every so often it comes up. It's this idea that gay men are predators, basically. It's the lie that never dies. And so she latched onto this. And, it's coming up again. It came up with QAnon. And as soon as QAnon hit the news, I thought, oh, all right. All this, Hillary and Hillary's Pizza Parlor and all the dastardly doings supposedly going on there, right? They're reviving this whole pedophilia thing, right? And I said, you know what? This is they're preparing the ground for a huge backlash, and sure enough, I think that's what's happening now.
Backlash
against LGBTQ rights, and I feel that transgender people are right now in the same place that gay men were in about 1970 after Stonewall. So there we were. Before that, you didn't talk about it. You had your hidden life, right? Don't ask, don't tell kind of thing. But after Stonewall, then suddenly it's gay rights, right? Gay lib. Everything was lib back then. So there we were, suddenly visible, which is kind of what we wanted, but not really, because there were no protections in place for us. So exposed, and people going, oh, who are these weird people? And what do we do with them? I feel that's what trans people are going through right now, only on a vastly larger scale. I'm not so sure that you say that gay rights have been won, but they can be taken away. I mean, they took away Roe v. Wade, right? They took away abortion rights in the
Well,
States.
so do you think that the Supreme Court is going to take away gay marriage?
They signaled that they were going to look at it. Clarence Thomas certainly, they said, okay, now that now we've got that one's done, we may want to take a look at it. There was something sinister like that. We'll take a look at and revisit, Obergefell, whatever the name of the case is. Yeah. Oh yeah, they're definitely going to look at it. And I think they definitely want to roll it back.
We're chatting tonight with Dave Roddis, a activist, an author, a polymath, an individual that has lived it all about his book that he's most recently released, and also about his life as a gay man growing up in Canada, and whether he thinks that gay rights have been won or whether they're at risk. We're going to take a break for some messages and be back with Dave in just 2 minutes. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. It's Pride Month, and so we're interviewing Dave Roddis, who is an author, and he calls himself a polymath. Dave, I've rarely heard someone call themselves a polymath. What is a polymath? Please explain that.
It's someone who's so distracted that they can't focus on one thing for any long period of time, so they just keep doing whatever comes up.
That's not
oh,
true.
Sorry.
The Renaissance man. It's a Renaissance man.
Right. That is what I meant to say. Yes, Renaissance man. Right. I don't know. I take everyone has always said to me, or like focus, specialize. But I think there's a lot to be said for I don't know, not spreading yourself thin, but taking a keen interest in everything that passes by. So I've been writing all my life. I love classical music. I immersed myself in that for a while. Then I went on to acting. I was living in England at the time, so I thought, well, what's less secure than being a classical musician? I know. Let's act. So I tried acting for a while. Stop, wait. How can I make this more difficult? Is my motto. And I taught a bit, and then you find you have to sustain yourself a little bit as an actor. So you end up doing temping work and getting interested in various things. I just like to follow my nose and try different things out. I guess that's what that means. So it's when people say what did you do or what have you done with your life? It's saying, well, where do I start? I don't know how to describe myself really, but what I'm doing at the moment is writing, and writing is.
Well, I consider myself a polymath myself, and so
Cool.
you're the second person that I've met that's described himself as a polymath. So I like it. I understand, have a blog called theslowpainful.com. Tell me about the blog.
Right. Well, I thought, well, why don't I try writing some of the? Actually, no. Let me get this right. Facebook was the reason for my blog, because Facebook has these things like life events, called life events. It's normally like got married or went to university or took a trip. So I started using less intuitive life events, like met another idiot or things like that. So I made these as little writing prompts, and I thought, well, why not put these out to the world and see if I can make them, a little bit funnier and kind of quirky, and it just started like that, and then I started adopting a few different personas. One of them was Trailer Irrigim, which is an anagram of Amelia Earhart. I actually live in an apartment building, which is before this building was here, there was a building where Amelia Earhart, the aviatrix, served as a nurse in World War I. So there's actually a blue plaque with Amelia Earhart's name in my front lawn. So I adopted various personae for this blog, and Big Gay Pope David is one. I have a kind of there's one where I do a stand-up routine as Jesus at the end of days. This all went into the first book, which is A Slow, Painful Death Would Be Too Good for You and Other Observations. It kind of grew from that. And I found, as with anything, the more you do it, the better you get. So I saw, that as I, pushed out an article each week, my writing improved, and I was learning how to write humor and learning what works and learning what doesn't. So that kind of grew and grew and grew. So I put out that first book, and then as I continued, and COVID came along and the pandemic and everything got kind of things got a little more serious. So this they're both of these books that have come out are collections of posts from my blog, but they're rewritten and expanded. And I would say the first collection is kind of wacky. And this one is a little more focused on politics and what my life as a gay man. So yeah, that's kind of the lowdown on the blog.
The blog is described as unabashedly progressive, outrageously funny political commentary, and personal reflections.
Right.
Is that accurate?
Yes. Yes.
Why unabashedly progressive?
I hate injustice. And I'll always be on the side of the worker against the boss. I'll always be on the side of the outcasts, as opposed to the dominant group. That doesn't mean I always agree with people all the time, but it will always be like, it's kind of like when you're married and you have arguments in private with the curtains closed, right? You don't have them in public. So like, how can I explain this better? It's like Justin Trudeau. When I argue with him, we're together in the living room with the curtains closed. And I say, look, why don't you follow through with election reform, right? And we have that argument. But in public, I say I support Justin Trudeau, right? Sorry, I forgot my train of thought was now.
After he said 1,500 times in the 2015 election, this was gonna be the last election under first past the post. Why did he not go forward with it? Did he tell you behind the curtains why?
No. The last time we went camping, we were like, Christy was like zipping us up into the sleeping bag, and he saying, "Can I call you Daddy?" And no, I said, "No, just leave that one for the time being." We never got to the bottom of that one. I think it's just because he's just a little bit opaque, a little bit entitled. But the thing is, the pushback against Justin Trudeau is so ridiculous, out of proportion. It's like every white cliche straight male somehow is existentially offended by him, and I just don't get it.
I drove up to Muskoka this weekend, and on Highway 11, just past Aurelia, is this this thing that said F Trudeau. He has to go. It had probably 10 different Canadian flags, huge amount of banners. It looked like it was taken straight out of January the 6th. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, that's what makes me uneasy. This kind of seeping over of Americanism. I guess it's the way our geography goes. But yeah, I don't get it. It's almost like a weird kind of homophobia, except he's not gay. Well, I assume he's not. I wouldn't like to presume anyone on anyone's sexuality without knowing. But anyway, it is a weird kind of homophobia without the gayness. It's like he's the girly man. He's like, useless girly man if he doesn't do that thing. Horrific dictator if he does do that thing. He can't do anything right, really.
Well, they called him Justina until he won in the boxing match.
Really, I didn't know that one. Justina.
You didn't know it? Like they called all the right-wing commentators called him Justina.
Oh my God.
And then he had the boxing match against, who was it? Can't remember it now. The senator, Brazeau. And he pummeled him and won. And that's the first time they finally called him Justin, had a little bit of respect for him.
Oh my God. But that's so high school. In fact, it's not even high school. It's like grade school. Justina. Oh my gosh. And I guess, do they think he's going to crumple up and
Well, they did. They thought that Brazil would win the fight. There's no question they thought that. So let me ask you, should he take a walk in the snow?
What does that mean? I don't
Well,
know.
his father took the walk in the snow and decided that he would resign. Should Justin Trudeau resign?
um, no, I don't think so. I think he should follow through on. I think he should be more transparent. I think he should be a little less. Oh, I hate Justin. Please forgive me. I know we said we would not say this in public, but just be little less arrogant. You know, it's just that whiff of entitlement that oh, but when I hear people like Pierre Poilievre um, bashing away and bashing away, I think Trudeau saved our economy basically during COVID. I mean, and I want to say to Pierre, who refuses to come along camping with me, actually, um, what would you have done? Like, what was your solution? How would you have made sure that people could pay the rent and businesses didn't fail? And like, what's see, this is the whole thing with the right. They don't have any solutions, so they have to distract you with like calling people silly names. You're a snowflake. Oh, well, let me crumple up and die. Or the whole trans thing, save the children. It's all just a big distraction because they have no ideas and no solutions to anything.
Well,
So
it's freedom. Like that's their big rallying cry right now, is it not? Freedom.
yeah, yeah, I guess I believe in freedom. But they mean like freedom to do anything at any time to anyone for any reason, which
Yeah,
has
freedom to
never.
not have to follow vaccine mandates or have a vaccine passport or have any masks or any of the rules that occurred during the pandemic.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened because I got vaccinated every. I don't know if it was every year. I forget, but there was no question you got vaccinated for school, and there was just a sense that of yay science. We've solved this one. I don't know where that all went south, but I think in Canada because we do have it's a universal healthcare. I guess we do have a pretty good universal healthcare program here. So we still have the idea of the social contract that you're stronger together, right? You want to look after. We need each other. We want to look after each other a little bit, but that apparently that idea is gone in the United States, I guess.
I think it's not gone, but certainly either going or less prevalent in Canada today as well. I think we're far more along the life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness route than we are the peace, order, and good government that we've been in the past. Far
Yeah.
more individualistic, less collective. Anyway, we got to take a break for some messages, and we're going to come back with Dave Roddis in just 2 minutes. And they're going to ask him if he wants to read something from his book. Stay with us, everyone. Back in 2. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. My guest tonight is Dave Roddis, and he is a fascinating guy. Describes himself as a polymath. He's an author, an erstwhile author. He is a unabashedly progressive, outrageously funny political commentator and personal reflections on his blog called slowpainful.com. He's written 2 books, and his most recent book has come out most recently that has got a really interesting title to it called Sorry, Looking for Now, LOL. And he's explained that that's a term often used now in the gay community when they're thinking about the immediacy of hookups that they want to have, which is kind of interesting. Dave, could you read something from your book for us, please?
Sure, I'll read a little bit of the preface to my book. Yeah. So this is, I guess, the first glimpse you get of me in this book. So I believe it was around or even on my 8th birthday, so September 21st, 1963, when I awoke from a romantic dream about Robert Goulet. He was holding me in his arms and singing If Ever I Would Leave You, while Julie Andrews, dressed as Mary Poppins, glared at me from her sexless void. I awoke from that paradise of dark chin stubble and ringy baritone and thought, oh, for Pete's sake, of course, that's what they forgot to tell me. I'm gay. I'm a queer, a flamer, a poofter, a pansy, a Nelly, a ponce. One of those. No need to pretend anymore. I can own this thing. I totally identify with Jane Eyre. I love the men's underwear section of the Eden's Christmas catalog. If you want me to stop hogging all the attention, doll, you better nix the applause. When I put on cologne, I put on half a bottle of Shalimar. Seriously, what's the point of holding back? And it gets me my own seat on the school bus. I like hanging out with the girls during quiet time. Girls are nicer, more helpful than boys, and they appreciate my baking. Care for another date square? Charmed. I heart skin-tight and or revealingly short clothing in, if not paisley, then either all black or highlighter pink. Is this a crime in a world where refrigerators are harvest gold? No more shame about wearing those plaid shorts hiked up with the suspenders either. Stop twirling your toe in the dirt, girl. After all, you invented male camel toe. Embrace it. I'm constantly stressed about my unruly flyaway bangs. What self-respecting 8-year-old isn't? Pass the dippity-doo. I won't deny that I tried on my sister's prom dress while she was out bowling at Whitby Plaza, but surely this proves I'm secure in my masculinity. And I suspect she was crying because I looked better in it, but I'm much too kind to say so. That's the other thing. I'm kind. When I made Tilly Pellis laugh while she was drinking chocolate milk and it came out her nose, who was there to shield her from the haters? Moi, that's who. I get it now. That's why when I go for a haircut and Mario the barber presses into me as he snips away, I get that pleasurable ache in my belly that mingles with the scent of shaving cream and cigarette smoke and barbicide. And I don't mean to be pedantic, but why doesn't that mean the act of killing Barbie? Freedom. No more pretending that I have a doctor's appointment once a week that gets me out of gym class when it's actually my piano lesson. I'll simply hang around the changing rooms until Coach Wessel steps out of the shower, hand him his towel, and explain that my dengue fever got cured. I'm done. I'm taking the train to Faggot Town, baby. I think that's how it happened. And no raised eyebrows or tut-tuts about my age either. When you're born gay, which I was, it takes a supreme act of will not to know, even in 1963. So relax. There were no dirty uncles diddling me or strangers with candy flashing me from the driver's seat of their Chevy Corvette. That came much later, when I was well into my 20s.
So that's really interesting that you realized from early on that you were gay and that you effectively came out at age 8. Two of my very closest friends, both in high school and university, were gay. And I sort of guessed it, and it was never talked about. And they were both very successful, intelligent, capable people. And neither of them came out until their 20s. And my brother, a very similar kind of a scenario. My sense from my experience, and it's obviously far more limited than yours, but that a lot of gay men in the 60s, 70s, and 80s didn't come out until their 20s. So your experience, I think, is very abnormal. What do you say to that?
Um, I'm not sure because, as I say, one was so isolated. That we're talking about. So when did I first get taken to a gay bar? I was 15. No carding me then. So it'll be 1970. I, I don't know because I don't know what other people's experience was. Because you just didn't have this network that people have now. I mean, it's great to see young people meeting people their own age. I'm really kind of envious of that. Because I didn't have that. There was no one. You just ended up at the mercy of who you bumped into or who made eye contact with you on the street. Your story about your friends is interesting though because I had a similar experience. I had a friend in high school who I knew he was gay, and he nothing happened, but we became very close friends. And in fact, he and I and a female friend all hung around. We were like the Three Musketeers in grade 12, and we were all gay, as it turns out. But that the male friend came out via letter to me when I was living in England. When he was nearly 30. So I knew years and years before he did. It was kind of strange. But yeah,
did he not know or just didn't publicly announce?
Well, who can say, right? I don't know. Could you not know? could you honestly not know that you were gay? I guess you could push the idea aside. Um, I mean, it's an interesting question. I mean, I know guys now who will experiment with guys, but they would not call themselves gay. It's interesting question. Now that we're talking about gender more as a spectrum than like a box or like a single identity that you fit in, I think it's something that it's a question we can explore a bit more. But yeah, I think he maybe didn't know, maybe was resisting the idea, but I don't know because my experience was so different. I can't imagine what that would be like.
We spoke a little bit earlier about some of the things that you've lived through, the same-sex sexual activity being decriminalized, equality coming
Mm,
to queer people,
mm,
sexual orientation added to Canada's Human Rights Act, protection
mm,
for queer people under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, military bans lifted, the right for queer people to adopt, gay marriage made law, PrEP that numerous people take, that has really changed, I think, gay men's lives.
yeah.
How is that? Why is that? How happened? Do you think there was leadership that made it happen or allowed it to happen? Was it just time? What was the cause of this massive change in just your generation?
Um, I'm not sure. Um, the cause of it, I mean, I think leadership, definitely, because um, you can either let social attitudes change, or you can give attitudes a jump start by legislating, right? Um, uh, did we have we had a referendum on equal marriage? I by the way, I like to say equal marriage rather than gay marriage because gay marriage sounds a little bit like a gay people are asking for special rights when what we want is equality. But anyway, did we or did we not have a referendum on equal marriage?
I
Was
don't
it
think
not
we had
put to a vote?
I don't think we
Hmm?
had it. It may have been put to a vote in Parliament, but it certainly wasn't a
Right,
referendum.
right. Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm saying. So they allowed. It was Paul Martin, was it not? Who during his um who was prime minister when this happened? I think it was Paul Martin, was it not?
I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah, so I guess what I'm thinking of is he allowed there was no whip. He allowed like a free vote of conscience. Everyone could vote there, right? And because I whatever happened there, I remember thinking, well, how can you vote on my rights? How can
Well, because it's interesting, I think leadership has been a case, but I think it's really been the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and our legal system, and I think it's been people that have challenged laws and regulations to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has had to, rule
mm,
relative to the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which is the same in the United
mm,
States. Now, as you pointed out, Roe v. Wade can win and can lose, and so things can change. But I think the answer has been the legal system and people that have been willing to challenge
right,
unjust laws and challenge them all the way up to the Supreme Court, both in Canada and the United States. I think that's been the difference.
right. I tend to agree, and that kind of brings up social attitudes in its wake because once people see that the world isn't going to fall apart if two guys get married or two women get married, um, they tend to calm down. Well, at least in Canada they do, but I don't know. Um, yeah, so brave people, challenging. Um, and I think I have a lot more faith in our Supreme Court. I think the rulings that they come through are I don't know. The idea to me is that if you're in a liberal society, you are always seeking to expand the scope of rights, right? Who else can we bring into the tent, right? So you interpret the law in the most expansive way possible if you're wanting to in terms of giving more increasing the reach of human rights and yeah, well, that's just the way it works. Like who else can we bring into the tent? Um, which is why I'm glad that, for example, trans rights, transgender rights were added to um, the Human Rights Code, because and people always interpret this as like special rights for that group, but in fact, it's like a reminder. It's like Black Lives Matter, right? Black, this whole thing is, the whole pushback against that phrase. It's not like only Black Lives Matter. It's like Black Lives Matter, so let's start acting like they do, right? So in the same way that, by specifying rights in a human rights code, it's not special rights for that group. It's a reminder um, that they also are in the whole big family of humanity, right? So um, yeah,
Is having a month dedicated to Pride Month important to you?
it is. It is. Maybe as I get older, maybe I'm not so much into the partying aspect of it, and I do um, look a little bit askance at some of the corporate halo stuff going on. Like I didn't vote for TD Bank, so I'm glad they support me, but support Pride, but that's not who I want to rely on. But yeah, I think it's a lot of fun, and I think um, I think I like it best when people get upset about it. That may be like the '60s radical in me. um,
Why do you like it best when people get upset about it?
I don't. Well, I'm kind of saying that tongue in cheek, but there is also some of the gay community would say, there's nudity of the parade, and there's the leather guys, um, and they say, oh, they're spoiling it for the rest of us. We want to just be all clean cut, and pretend like we're just like heterosexuals, except um, we want all these same values. But I think the whole renegade side is being gay, which maybe it's because I grew up with that kind of outlaw, um, that sense of being an outlaw, slightly outside society, that I kind of secretly enjoy that a little bit. So I like it when things are. I think when we're ultra visible, right? I don't want to be. I don't fall into like a nice, tidy, polite kind of um, way of living my life. I think
Loud, proud, and in your face?
kind of a little bit, yeah, yeah. Because the thing with being gay is you can hide. I think spiritually that's a very dangerous thing to hide. It just reinforces all the shame. Um, it's traumatizing, frankly. And so I think when some straight people say, well, why don't we have straight pride? And I say, well, honey, you've got it, 364 days of the year. We have one day with the attention of you. Um, it's like visibility is the thing. Is it because it is, at least the way I grew up, I was taught to be hiding myself and hiding my feelings and being ashamed. So to
How did your parents react? How did your siblings react? How did your friends react?
oh this is okay. The story behind that is there was a teacher at my high school, quite a young teacher. I guess she was in her early 20s, and I was in an advanced English course. She was also involved in a kind of Christian group, and um, like at that age, I guess I was maybe 15, 16. So I got kind of drawn into this thing called Young Life. It was a Christian group. I guess it was based in the United States, which when I think back, it kind of horrifies me. But I guess I was looking for some way to belong and be part of something. Anyway, this English teacher, I kind of came out to her in a very roundabout way. I think I pointed to Leviticus or something weird. I feel I couldn't even say it. And she went straight to my mother. So she kind of broke my confidence.
How did you?
Hmm?
She outed you.
Yeah. Yeah, that was not cool.
And
Um, but anyway, that was that. So I got sent to a psychiatrist, and which I showed my compliance with that by being 45 minutes late for a 50-minute appointment every 2 weeks. No one has ever been able to make me do something I don't want to do. Um, and he tried to trick me. He said, "Well, describe your ideal face to me." I said, "Well, then he said, "Ah, you didn't mention anything like a beard or a mustache or anything that could be construed as male." I said, "Well, obviously beard." Right. So I was obviously a hopeless case, and they gave up. Um, my one sister was okay with it. Another sister was not so okay with it, but there was no, kicking me out of the family or anything. And my mom, after she got used to the idea, was kind of like, "Oh, personal shopper for life, great." So she became quite an outspoken advocate for gay people, actually.
do you think homosexuality is a choice, or is it part of your genes?
A choice. Hmm. I'm sorry, this just sounds so funny to me. Like you wake up one morning, you say, "Hmm." But I can't say what I want to say because you might have to censor it. But no, I think it's definitely I think it's a nature and a bit of I think it's got to do with epigenetics, frankly. So there's an interesting YouTube video on um, uh, some research that's gone down. I'm not sure how solid this is, but it's got to do with um, where your position in the family and if the mother has gone through a certain amount of stress during pregnancy. So it's got to do with like gay people are there to be the glue, the glue that holds the family together, to be a kind communicator. Basically, was the idea behind this theory. I think it's definitely genes, because I mean, on an evolutionary basis, it would have died out, right? Like
Yeah.
within no time at all. So there must be some reason for it. But I don't think it's a choice. I think it's embedded much more deeply than that. I don't know.
Well, I obviously agree with you. But it's interesting hearing your point of view. We're gonna have to take a final break and come back with some concluding comments in just 2 minutes. Stay with us, everyone. We're chatting with Dave Roddis about his book, about um, growing up gay, being gay, the accomplishments in the gay community, and he has a very progressive, political, humorous look on life. Stay with us, everyone. Back in 2 minutes.
Brian, can we say how he gets the book or how you?
Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. I've had an interesting chat tonight with Dave Roddis. Dave, what's the name of your book?
It's called "Sorry Looking for Now." LOL.
And where can one get it?
You can get it at the moment on Amazon. Just search for the title or search for my name, David Roddis. You can get it also on Kobo, in which case, of course, it will be the ebook version. And I'm sure in just a matter of hours, you'll be able to get it on my website as well, which is at slowpainful.com.
I want to finish with my own personal comment, if I could, Dave. So I've got a brother that is gay. I've had two very good friends that are gay. But my son, who is also gay, was very emotional when I went to a pride parade and marched in I think it was called the P flag, parents and friends of lesbians and gay people, with a sign that read, "I'm proud of my gay son." And I said, why is it that you're so emotional about this? Steve was gay, Matt is gay, Colin is gay. You know that I'm very accepting, if not, celebrating all of the gay people in my life, and so I'm completely accepting of you. And for him, it was something about publicly saying it. It was critically important to him.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Pride Month and Pride Parade, to me at least, is all about. is the acknowledgement that we are proud of our of yourself if you're gay yourself, but more importantly for me at least, for the balance of the community, to say, and we're proud of you as well. What do you think about that, Dave?
I think that's a wonderful story, and I didn't at first know what you meant by emotional. I didn't know if you thought that he was angry at you or something, but yeah, he was moved by that, and I think, you know, like we were saying earlier, there's a lot more danger out there than I think that we let on, and the fact that you have his back, it almost feels protective that you're proud of him. I can understand completely. Like, I'm getting choked up myself. I can understand completely why you would get emotional about that.
I also think that I also think the word pride is important. It's not that I'm okay, or it's not that, I'll put up with. It's that
right.
I'm proud.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that's important.
Right. Yeah. And like Jordan Peterson said, actually pride is one of the 7 deadly sins. Didn't you know? What a squelcher. Yeah, no, I think that's a really important message, that you can you can be proud of something that some people have told me in my life that I should be ashamed of. So it's flipping that around totally.
Dave Roddis, thanks so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. I think that you've got a message that that needs to be heard, and I look forward to reading your book.
Thanks so much for having me.
That's our show for tonight, everybody. Thank you for joining. I remind you, I'm on every Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock on 960 AM. You can stream me online, even from Church and Wellesley, at www.saga960am.ca. Good night, everybody.